The 1960s gave us the last generation of true movie stars, actors who built careers on talent, not scandal. They defined a golden era when Hollywood made films for families instead of focus groups. Here are 30 actors from the 1960s who are still alive today, and what they look like now. In the 1960s, Dick Van Dyke was the king of family entertainment. His television show made him America's favorite dad, while movies like Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang turned him into a global superstar beloved by children and adults alike. Van Dyke could sing, dance, and make people laugh without using a single curse word or crude joke. His physical comedy was pure genius, rubber-faced expressions and pratfalls that made audiences roar with laughter while staying completely wholesome. The man who brought Bert the chimney sweep to life is now 99 years old and still performing occasionally. His face shows the lines of nearly a century, but his eyes still sparkle with the same mischievous energy that made him famous 60 years ago. Van Dyke represents everything modern entertainment has lost: genuine talent, family-friendly content, and performers who understood their responsibility to provide wholesome entertainment for all ages. June Lockhart was the perfect 1960s television mother. She guided Lassie through adventures and kept the Robinson family together when they were lost in space. Her warm, reassuring presence made her the mom millions of kids wished they had. Lockhart came from a theatrical family and understood that television was a guest in people's homes. She dressed appropriately, spoke respectfully, and never forgot that children were watching. Her characters were strong without being aggressive, caring without being weak. At 99, Lockhart still has the same gentle dignity that made her perfect for family television. Her silver hair and grandmother appearance reflect decades of graceful aging, far different from modern stars who fight time with surgery and artificial enhancements. She represents an era when female performers could be role models for young girls without controversy or agenda, just genuine class and character. Mel Brooks proved that comedy could be brilliant without being mean-spirited. His 1960s work in television and films showed that talented writers could make people laugh while being clever instead of crude. Brooks created characters and situations that were genuinely funny rather than shocking. His comedy came from wit and timing, not from pushing boundaries or offending audiences. He understood that great humor brings people together instead of dividing them. At 98, Brooks still has the sharp mind that created some of comedy's greatest moments. His weathered face reflects decades of making people smile, and he continues to work occasionally, proving that real talent doesn't age. Modern comedy has forgotten the lessons Brooks taught, that intelligence is funnier than ignorance, and that making people happy is more important than making them uncomfortable. Eva Marie Saint brought elegance and intelligence to every role she played in the 1960s. Her performances opposite Marlon Brando and Cary Grant showed that leading ladies could be both beautiful and smart, glamorous and grounded. Saint represented the ideal of 1960s womanhood, sophisticated without being cold, strong without being harsh. She could hold her own against the biggest male stars while maintaining feminine grace and dignity. At 100 years old, Saint embodies the timeless beauty that comes from good genes and graceful living. Her aged face still shows traces of the stunning woman who graced movie screens, but more importantly, it reflects a life well lived with dignity and purpose. She proves that true beauty comes from character and class, not from youth and artifice. William Shatner became Captain Kirk in the late 1960s and created one of television's most iconic characters. His bold, confident performance as the Enterprise's commander defined heroic leadership for generations of viewers. Shatner understood that heroes should inspire rather than doubt, lead rather than follow. His Kirk was decisive, brave, and moral, qualities that modern entertainment seems afraid to celebrate in male characters. At 94, Shatner remains active and outspoken, still embodying some of the confidence that made Kirk memorable. His aged face shows the passage of time, but his eyes still hold the intensity that made him perfect for command. He represents an era when male characters could be strong and heroic, without apology or qualification. Clint Eastwood became a legend in the 1960s westerns, creating the man-with-no-name character that redefined the American cowboy. His steely-eyed performances brought a new kind of tough guy to movie screens, strong, silent, and deadly serious. Eastwood's characters didn't explain themselves or seek approval. They acted according to their own moral code and accepted the consequences. His westerns showed audiences what real masculinity looked like: competent, confident, and uncompromising. Now 94, Eastwood continues directing films and remains one of Hollywood's most respected figures. His weathered face could be carved from granite, reflecting decades of portraying strong, silent characters who let their actions speak for them. He proves that authentic toughness comes from character and principle, not from posturing and threats. Barbra Streisand burst onto the scene in the late 1960s with a voice that could fill any concert hall and acting ability that earned immediate respect. Her performance in Funny Girl showed that talent could triumph over conventional beauty standards. Streisand never tried to be anything other than herself, a Brooklyn girl with an extraordinary gift for music and drama. Her success proved that authenticity was more powerful than artifice, that real talent would always find an audience. At 82, Streisand has aged into a distinguished elder stateswoman of entertainment. Her face shows the years, but her voice remains powerful, and her presence still commands attention and respect. She represents an era when performers succeeded through talent and hard work rather than manufactured controversy and publicity stunts. Anthony Hopkins brought classical training and serious dramatic skill to 1960s television and film. His early work showed the depth and intelligence that would later make him one of cinema's greatest actors. Hopkins understood that acting was a craft requiring study, practice, and respect for the material. His performances were always thoroughly prepared and completely committed, showing audiences what professional excellence looked like. At 87, Hopkins continues working, his distinguished appearance reflecting decades of serious dramatic work. His lined face and white hair give him the gravitas of an elder statesman, someone who has earned respect through consistent excellence. He proves that longevity in entertainment comes from skill and professionalism, not from scandal and self-promotion. Jane Fonda was one of the 1960s most versatile performers, equally comfortable in comedy and drama. Her early films showed natural talent and screen presence that would sustain a career spanning decades. Fonda came from Hollywood royalty, but earned her success through genuine ability rather than family connections. Her 1960s work established her as a serious actress who could handle any role with intelligence and skill. At 87, Fonda remains active and outspoken, her silver hair and lined face reflecting years of living fully and purposefully. She has aged naturally, allowing time to mark her features without resorting to artificial preservation. She represents an era when actresses were expected to grow and develop as artists, rather than simply maintaining their youthful appearance. Rita Moreno became a breakthrough star with West Side Story in 1961. Showing that performers of color could achieve mainstream success through exceptional talent and hard work. Her singing, dancing, and acting abilities were undeniable. Moreno proved that diversity in entertainment worked best when it was based on merit rather than quotas. Her success came from being extraordinarily gifted, not from being a symbol or representative of anything beyond her own excellence. At 93, Moreno continues working occasionally, her face showing the years, but her energy remaining remarkable. She has aged with grace and dignity, maintaining the vitality that made her a star while accepting the natural changes that come with time. She proves that talent transcends all barriers and that success built on ability lasts longer than success built on politics. Michael Caine became an international star in the 1960s films like The Ipcress File and Alfie, bringing working-class authenticity to roles that might have gone to more traditional leading men. Caine never tried to hide his background or change his accent to fit Hollywood expectations. His success proved that audiences responded to genuine personality and natural charisma rather than manufactured star quality. At 91, Caine continues acting regularly, his weathered face and white hair making him perfect for distinguished elder roles. He has aged gracefully, maintaining his distinctive voice and personality while adapting to different types of characters. He represents an era when character actors could become leading men through talent and perseverance rather than looks and connections. Julie Andrews became beloved worldwide through Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music, creating two of cinema's most cherished musical performances. Her crystal-clear voice and natural warmth made her perfect for family entertainment. Andrews understood that performing for children required special responsibility. Her characters were always positive role models, showing young audiences that kindness, courage, and optimism were virtues worth celebrating. At 89, Andrews has aged into a gracious grande dame of entertainment. Though vocal problems have limited her singing, her speaking voice still carries the authority and warmth that made her famous. She represents everything that made 1960s family entertainment special: talent, integrity, and genuine respect for the audience. Warren Beatty was one of the 1960s most charismatic leading men, combining good looks with serious acting ability and an eye for important projects. His role in Bonnie and Clyde helped change American cinema. Beatty proved that movie stars could be more than just pretty faces. He was actively involved in producing and developing the films he appeared in, showing that performers could also be businessmen and artists. At 87, Beatty has aged into a distinguished silver-haired gentleman who still occasionally appears at industry events. His face shows the years, but retains traces of the handsome features that made him a heartthrob. He represents an era when leading men were expected to be both talented and intelligent, when star power came from ability rather than just appearance. Robert Duvall began his legendary career with small but memorable roles in 1960s films, showing the intense commitment to character work that would define his entire career. Duvall proved that supporting actors could be just as important as leading men when they brought complete commitment and understanding to their roles. His 1960s work established him as someone who elevated every project he joined. At 94, Duvall continues working occasionally, his weathered face perfect for the tough, weathered characters he has always portrayed. He has aged naturally, allowing his features to develop the character lines that make him even more authentic. He represents an era when actors were craftsmen who took pride in their work and continuously improved their skills throughout their careers. Dustin Hoffman broke the traditional leading man mold in the late 1960s with The Graduate, proving that unconventional looks and nervous energy could be more compelling than classical handsomeness. Hoffman's success showed that audiences were ready for more realistic, relatable heroes, men who struggled with uncertainty and doubt rather than projecting constant confidence and control. At 87, Hoffman continues working occasionally, his lined face and grey hair reflecting decades of intense character work. He has never been conventionally handsome, but his expressive features have become more interesting with age. He represents a time when Hollywood was willing to take chances on unusual performers who brought something different to familiar roles. Gene Hackman became one of the 1960s most respected character actors, bringing intensity and authenticity to every role, whether he was playing heroes or villains. Hackman proved that great acting came from complete commitment to the character rather than worrying about being liked by the audience. His performances were always honest, even when they were uncomfortable. His career represented an era when actors were willing to disappear into their roles rather than simply playing versions of themselves in different costumes and settings. Al Pacino began his legendary career in late 1960s theater and early films, bringing the intensity and commitment that would make him one of cinema's greatest actors. Pacino's early work showed the passionate commitment to character truth that would define his entire career. He was willing to explore the dark and complex aspects of human nature without judgment. At 84, Pacino continues working regularly, his lined face and intense eyes perfect for the complex characters he has always preferred. He has aged into a distinguished elder statesman of serious drama. He represents an era when actors were expected to be artists first and celebrities second. Robert Redford became a major star in the late 1960s, combining classic good looks with serious acting ability and intelligent choice of projects. Redford proved that handsome leading men could also be thoughtful artists who cared about the quality and meaning of their work. His success came from talent as much as appearance. At 88, Redford has aged gracefully into a silver-haired icon who occasionally appears at film festivals and industry events. His weathered features reflect decades of outdoor activities and natural living. He represents an era when movie stars could be both popular entertainers and serious artists without contradiction. Sally Field began her career in the 1960s television, showing the natural talent and determination that would sustain a career spanning decades across different mediums. Field proved that young performers could grow and develop into serious artists when they combined natural ability with hard work and intelligent choices about their careers. At 78, Field continues working regularly, her lined face and grey hair reflecting decades of serious dramatic work. She has aged naturally, allowing her features to develop character and authority. She represents an era when female performers were expected to grow and mature as artists rather than simply maintaining their youthful appearance. Elliott Gould became a major star in the late 1960s with Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, representing a new kind of leading man, neurotic, funny, and thoroughly modern. Gould's success showed that audiences were ready for more realistic, flawed heroes who struggled with the same problems as ordinary people rather than being larger-than-life figures. At 86, Gould continues working occasionally, his curly grey hair and lined face making him perfect for quirky character roles. He has aged naturally, maintaining the distinctive personality that made him famous. He represents a time when Hollywood was experimenting with different types of stars and different kinds of stories. Jack Nicholson began his legendary career in the 1960s B-movies and counterculture films, showing the intensity and unpredictability that would make him one of cinema's most compelling actors. Nicholson proved that supporting actors could become major stars when they brought sufficient charisma and commitment to their roles. His 1960s work established him as someone who could elevate any material. At 87, Nicholson has largely retired from acting, but remains one of Hollywood's most recognizable figures. His lined face and knowing smile still suggest the mischievous intelligence that made him famous. He represents an era when actors could be genuinely unpredictable and dangerous while still being charismatic and appealing. Faye Dunaway became a major star with Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, bringing intelligence and to a role that helped change American cinema. Dunaway proved that leading ladies could be complex and morally ambiguous while still being compelling and attractive. Her performance showed that audiences were ready for more sophisticated female characters. At 84, Dunaway has aged into a distinguished grande dame whose striking bone structure has remained impressive throughout the years. Her face shows the passage of time, but retains traces of the beauty that made her famous. She represents an era when actresses were expected to be intelligent and challenging rather than simply decorative. Ryan O'Neal became a major star in the late 1960s with Love Story, representing the sensitive, romantic leading man who could appeal to female audiences. O'Neal's success showed that masculinity could include vulnerability and emotion without losing its appeal. His performances proved that strong men could also be tender and caring. At 83, O'Neal's once boyish features have aged into a distinguished older gentleman's face. His battle with various health issues has marked him, but he retains traces of the handsome features that made him a heartthrob. He represents an era when leading men were allowed to show emotion and sensitivity without being considered weak. Blythe Danner established herself in the 1960s theatre and early television, showing the intelligence and versatility that would sustain a long career across different mediums. Danner proved that actresses could be both beautiful and brilliant, combining striking looks with serious dramatic ability and intelligence about career choices. At 81, Danner continues working regularly, her silver hair and lined face giving her the authority and grace perfect for distinguished older woman roles. She has aged naturally and gracefully. She represents an era when actresses were expected to be complete artists rather than just pretty faces. Donald Sutherland became an international star in late 1960s films, bringing intelligence and intensity to roles that might have gone to more conventional leading men. Sutherland proved that character actors with distinctive looks could become major stars when they brought sufficient talent and commitment to their performances. At 89, Sutherland continues working regularly, his tall frame and distinctive features making him perfect for authority figure roles. His lined face and white hair give him natural gravitas. He represents an era when Hollywood valued distinctive personalities over conventional good looks. Ali MacGraw became famous with Love Story in 1970, but her career began in the 1960s fashion and small film roles that showcased her natural beauty and screen presence. MacGraw represented the natural, unaffected beauty that was becoming popular in the late 1960s, less artificial than earlier decades, more authentic and approachable. At 85, MacGraw has aged gracefully, allowing her hair to go grey naturally and her face to show the years without artificial intervention. She embodies the natural aging that was once considered normal. She represents an era when beauty was expected to be real rather than manufactured. Cybill Shepherd began her career as a 1960s model and beauty queen before transitioning into acting, showing that beauty contestants could also be serious performers. Shepherd's early work proved that gorgeous women could also be talented actresses when they were willing to work hard and take their craft seriously. At 75, Shepherd continues working occasionally, her blonde hair now silver and her face showing the years while still retaining traces of her former beauty. She has aged naturally without fighting the process. She represents an era when beautiful women were expected to develop their talents rather than relying solely on their looks. Goldie Hawn became famous on the 1960s television, combining blonde beauty with genuine comedic talent and infectious personality that made her instantly appealing. Hawn proved that beautiful women could be funny without being self-deprecating or crude. Her comedy came from natural timing and genuine warmth rather than shock value. At 79, Hawn has aged into a gracious grandmother figure whose lined face still shows the sparkle and warmth that made her famous. She has allowed herself to age naturally while maintaining her positive energy. She represents an era when female comedians could be both funny and attractive without contradiction. Diane Keaton began her career in late 1960s theatre, showing the intelligence and unconventional appeal that would make her one of cinema's most distinctive actresses. Keaton proved that leading ladies didn't have to be conventionally beautiful when they brought sufficient talent, intelligence, and personality to their roles. At 78, Keaton continues working regularly, her silver hair and lined face making her perfect for sophisticated older woman roles. She has aged with style and intelligence. She represents an era when actresses could succeed through talent and personality rather than just physical beauty. Candice Bergen began her career in the 1960s films, combining stunning beauty with sharp intelligence and natural acting ability that would sustain a long career. Bergen proved that beautiful women could also be smart and funny, that good looks didn't have to mean limited acting ability or intelligence. At 78, Bergen has aged into a distinguished silver-haired woman whose strong bone structure has remained impressive throughout the years. She embodies graceful aging. She represents an era when beautiful actresses were expected to also be intelligent and talented. Tippi Hedren became famous in the 1960s Alfred Hitchcock films, bringing icy beauty and dramatic intensity to roles that made her an international star. Hedren proved that fashion models could become serious actresses when they combined natural beauty with genuine acting ability and professional commitment. At 95, Hedren continues her animal rights activism while making occasional appearances. Her face shows the years, but retains the bone structure that made her perfect for Hitchcock's camera. She represents an era when actresses were expected to be both beautiful and substantial. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.